Logan's Run 1976 was a chilling prophecy wrapped in the glitter of science fiction. It painted a vision of a dazzling future, a society sealed under a giant dome where shimmering lights masked all fear, and life was spent in endless pleasure.
Overwhelming, am I not? Are you too startled? Am I too removed from your ken?
But that paradise carried a cruel price. No one was allowed to live past 30. On your birthday, instead of a party, you were forced to enter Carousel, a grotesque ritual where bodies floated upward before exploding into dust in front of a cheering crowd.
Looks like we've got a runner and his para. And look who decided to run. I cut up a Sandman yesterday. They said I'd never get him, but I cut him up good.
I feel sorry for you, boy.
Yet the nightmare didn't end there. Behind the camera, Logan's Run hid a series of secrets just as eerie as its story. The grand domed city was actually a shopping mall. The lead actors had all surpassed the death age they were portraying, and the floating stunts that dazzled audiences were real-life terrors for the cast. Think you already know Logan's Run. The next 20 shocking, bizarre, and unsettling truths might just leave you reeling.
Year of the city, 2274. Carousel begins.
20. The aerial stunt was a living nightmare. The carousel sequence. The city's death ritual wasn't only the most visually disturbing moment in Logan's Run, it was also one of the boldest technical experiments of the 1970s. Special effects wizard Glenn Robinson engineered a maddeningly complex rig. Both the floor and ceiling rotated in sync, while hidden cables yanked actors into the air, spinning them around as if they were truly defying gravity. The climax came with a camera trick that was literally upside down. The set was built inverted, with the camera shooting downward from above to trick the eye, creating the illusion that the believers were soaring skyward rather than being pulled down. It stunned audiences in 1976 and cemented the scene as one of sci-fi cinema's most unforgettable moments. But for the actors, it was sheer terror. Dangling more than 40 feet in the air, spinning for hours under blazing lights. Many confessed their hearts raced with fear of a deadly fall. At one point, the rig malfunctioned, leaving a performer stuck hanging helplessly like a broken marionette until the crew scrambled to rescue them. Was that scene for you a cinematic wonder or a waking nightmare? Share your thoughts in the comments below. 19. Michael York had already passed the death age. In Logan's Run, every citizen must submit to Carousel the moment they turn 30. But the irony couldn't be sharper. Michael York, who played Logan, was already 33 when filming began. His on-screen rival and former friend Francis Richard Jordan was 38. Only Jenny Agutter as Jessica was age-appropriate, just 23 at the time. A film obsessed with death at 30, yet led by actors who had all long passed that mark. In the original 1967 novel, the cut-off age was even harsher, 21. MGM raised it to 30 for the adaptation, partly because otherwise no actor old enough to headline could play the leads, and the movie would have resembled a teen drama. Ironically, this adjustment gave the film a biting undertone, middle-aged stars embodying a world obsessed with youth. York himself once called it a sweet little joke on Hollywood, a business that worships eternal youth. Do you think this casting choice made the film more satirical, or did it undermine its realism? 18. Peter Ustinov never really knew the script. Peter Ustinov delivered one of Logan's Run's most memorable performances as the eccentric old man surrounded by cats. But off-camera, he admitted he never truly understood the story. Rather than wrestle with the futuristic plot, he leaned into warmth, humour and improvisation. Much of his dialogue was unscripted. He sprinkled in his own jokes, snippets of T.S. Eliot poetry, even mimicked the cat's meows, turning them into surreal echoes of "hello, hello." This playful spontaneity gave his character a whimsical, almost street performer quality, setting him apart from the sterile dystopia and adding a strangely hopeful human touch. Ustinov's improvisations transformed what could have been a somber role into a scene-stealing turn, equal parts haunting and oddly tender. 17. Many scenes were cut for being too controversial. Few moments from Logan's run provoked as much uproar as the infamous love shop. At first glance, it looked like nothing more than a hazy corridor filled with shifting lights and fog. But as the camera lingered, audiences saw a writhing mass of bodies tangled together, a ritual blending orgy and trance. In the original cut, the sequence ran nearly 4 minutes long enough to leave a scar. But the censors slashed 2/3 of it to secure a PG rating. Even so, the scene stirred outrage. Some countries cut it entirely, others butchered it with heavy edits, leaving only scraps of its bizarre energy. Paradoxically, censorship only deepened its legend. Audiences worldwide clamoured for the uncensored cut, treating it like forbidden fruit. And there was another notorious moment now, lost forever, the robot box forcing Logan and Jessica to pose nude for an ice sculpture. It was excised for both nudity and runtime. Today, no known copy survives the footage erased in a studio purge, leaving behind only whispers of one of sci-fi's most tantalizing lost scenes. 16. The domed city was filmed inside a shopping mall. The dazzling city wasn't a futuristic megastructure at all, but the Dallas Market Center Mall in Texas. Its modern architecture, glass elevators, cavernous open spaces, and stark geometric designs already looked futuristic. Add coloured lights, mirrors, and fog machines, and it became a believable sci-fi utopia on a budget. Filming often took place after business hours with actors weaving through mannequins and shop fronts. Other sequences used the Fort Worth Convention Center, whose angular design perfectly embodied dystopian futurism. It was a resourceful solution: save money, maximize effect. The end result: a city that shimmered with sterile beauty, yet radiated authoritarian dread. 15. Logan and Jessica's awkward love story. The romance between Logan 5 and Jessica wasn't in the original script. MGM executives feared the film was too cold, too full of philosophy and running, so they demanded a love subplot to balance it and appeal to female audiences. Q hastily added flirting longing gazes and clunky romantic lines. But forced love rarely blossoms. Many viewers felt York and Agutter's chemistry was stiff and unnatural. Even the actors later admitted there wasn't enough time or character depth for a believable romance. It felt less like passion and more like corporate checkbox storytelling. So was Logan and Jessica's romance truly fiery, or just a flickering candle MGM lit to fit the blockbuster formula? Share your verdict below. 14. The film almost never made it to the screen. After MGM bought the rights to the novel Logan's Run in the late 1960s, the project quickly fell into development hell. Multiple scripts were written and abandoned, potential directors dropped out one by one, and the film seemed destined to gather dust forever. But everything changed in 1973 when two sci-fi films, Soylent Green and Westworld, were released. Both were distributed by MGM, both scored at the box office, and both proved to the public that science fiction was hot again. Their success convinced MGM to dust off its forgotten property Logan's Run. From there, the studio handed the project to veteran producer Saul David, who had previously struck gold with Fantastic Voyage. They also brought in screenwriter Stanley R. Greenberg, who had written Soylent Green to breathe new life into the script. With director Michael Anderson finally attached, Logan's Run crawled out of cursed project status and into the light as a bold, ambitious production. 13. Local cats were recruited as cast members. Among the most unforgettable moments in Logan's Run is Peter Ustinov's old man living in a crumbling building surrounded by dozens of cats. The production team gathered these animals from local shelters in West Los Angeles and brought them onto set as unusual four-legged extras. To manage this unpredictable furry cast, the crew even hired a professional cat wrangler to keep the animals calm and safe during filming. The sight of the old man weaving through the meows with small bodies darting across the ruins created a bittersweet image, simple life stubbornly persisting amid a decayed world. Behind the scenes, Ustinov kept the mood light by sketching cartoon cats to amuse Jenny Agutter, making the set a little less tense. Did this scene charm you? Let us know in the comments below. For now, let's move on to more fascinating secrets. 12. William Devane almost played Francis Seven. Richard Jordan wasn't the first choice for Francis Seven. That role was originally cast with William Devane, then rising in fame thanks to Marathon Man. Devane was prepared to start shooting when he got a phone call that changed everything. Alfred Hitchcock invited him to star in Family Plot, the master's final film. Faced with the chance to work with Hitchcock, Devane dropped out of Logan's run at the last minute. That sudden vacancy opened the door for Richard Jordan. Jordan brought a chilling duality to Francis, not just a ruthless hunter of runners, but a ghostly figure torn between loyalty and betrayal, both friend and merciless foe to Logan 5. Do you think Devane would have made Francis more compelling, or was Jordan the perfect choice? Tell us in the comments. 11. Test screenings forced violent scenes to be cut. The post-production of Logan's run dragged on for 8 months, during which legendary composer Jerry Goldsmith poured his soul into the score. He blended sweeping orchestral music with experimental electronic sounds, producing a soundtrack that felt both ethereal and chilling, echoing from a distant future. Today, some of those electronic effects may sound raw, but at the time they were groundbreaking, defining the style that would become Goldsmith's signature through the late 70s and 80s. But the first test screening changed everything. A 70mm cut shown in San Diego in May 1976 ran about 20 minutes longer than the final release. Audiences saw sequences that now survive only in rumour. Francis hunting a runner in front of a cheering crowd, an extended and grotesque scene in the face rejuvenation chamber, and the infamous moment of Logan and Jessica posing nude for Box's ice sculpture. To secure approval and tighten the runtime, these sequences were all mercilessly cut. 10. A tight budget for a huge ambition. Despite its massive sci-fi vision, Logan's run had a budget of only $9 million. Compared to other blockbusters of its time, this was meagre, but it was still MGM's most expensive film of the decade. Budget constraints forced painful sacrifices. The original script included a spectacular battle between rival Sandmen, which would have given the story a climactic action set piece. But the cost was deemed impossible, so the sequence was scrapped entirely. As a result, the film lost what could have been a dramatic large-scale showdown. 9. A portrait of Nixon was cut for being too sensitive. One deleted scene featured the old man flipping through old portraits hanging in the Capitol. Among them was a photograph of President Richard Nixon. Ustinov even had a line pointing at the image they used to call him Tricky, a nod to Nixon's infamous nickname Tricky Dick. The gag was swiftly cut for being too politically sensitive in the mid-1970s climate. 8. Michael York almost turned the role down. Few know that Michael York nearly didn't star in Logan's run. By the early 1970s, York was already a rising star with Cabaret the Three Musketeers and Murder on the Orient Express under his belt. The producers wanted him as Logan 5, but York himself felt the character wasn't right for him and considered rejecting the role outright. The person who changed his mind wasn't a producer or director, but a young member of the Fear Theatre troupe assigned to drive York around. The driver repeatedly urged him to take the role, even pointing a finger and declaring like a command, "You have no choice. You must play Logan." Strangely, this earnest insistence struck a chord with York. From reluctant skepticism, he shifted to acceptance and signed on for the role that would define his career in science fiction. 7. Farrah Fawcett was supposed to have more screen time. Farrah Fawcett left a strong impression with her role as Holly, a small but captivating supporting character in the futuristic world. However, few know that Holly's role was originally written to be more substantial, including segments that delved deeper into the luxurious yet hollow lives of the city's citizens. Due to runtime pressures and the filmmaker's focus on Logan 5 and Jessica's escape, much of Fawcett's screen time was cut. Even so, Farrah Fawcett's appearance became a memorable highlight, foreshadowing her breakout career. With her golden hair and radiant smile, she brought a unique vitality to Holly, making the character stand out despite her limited presence. Behind the scenes, Fawcett worked with remarkable professionalism, even when facing complex sequences set within the dazzling yet suffocating Dome City. After Logan's run premiered, Fawcett skyrocketed to fame, with Charlie's Angels becoming a fashion and cultural icon of the 1970s. Were you impressed by Fawcett's performance? Share your thoughts in the comments below. 6. Using hologram technology for a groundbreaking scene. Do you remember the scene where Logan is interrogated by the city's supercomputer? It stood out because during what was essentially just dialogue, the audience saw multiple versions of Michael York's face orbiting him in a surreal display, as if pulled straight out of the future. The fascinating part, it wasn't CGI. At a time when computer graphics were barely in their infancy, the crew used actual holography, relying on laser technology to record and project three-dimensional images of York's face from multiple angles. This was considered one of the first uses of holograms in cinema, making York the first actor to ever perform as a hologram on screen. The technology came through collaboration with engineers and holography experts like Chris Outwater. Filming required highly precise lighting setups, expensive equipment and painstaking effort, but the result was a scene unlike anything seen before, both pioneering and haunting. While CGI experiments of the era like Future World in 1976 could only render rudimentary images, Logan's Run went far beyond by using real holograms, giving audiences the sense that they were glimpsing a future already within reach. 5. Multiple remakes, none successful. After the success of the 1976 film, CBS partnered with MGM to launch a Logan's Run TV series in 1977, starring Gregory Harrison and Heather Menzies as Logan and Jessica. While it maintained the core story of two people escaping the Dome City in search of sanctuary, the show lasted only 14 episodes before being cancelled due to low ratings. The last 3 episodes only aired through syndication. Many filmmakers tried to revive Logan's Run. In 1977, Marvel published a comic book adaptation illustrated by George Perez. Though it received a decent reception, the series ended after only 5 issues despite plans for continuation. Licensing restrictions were to blame. Marvel was only allowed to adapt the film, not expand on the story, forcing the series to end abruptly. From the early 2000s, numerous directors, including Bryan Singer and Nicholas Winding Refn, were attached to potential reboots aiming for a darker tone with modern effects. Ryan Gosling was even signed to play Logan at one point, yet creative differences, constant rewrites, and shifting studio priorities repeatedly derailed the project. Despite repeated announcements and rumours, no remake has ever made it past pre-production. After more than 2 decades in limbo, Logan's Run remains stuck in development hell, proof that some futures are harder to restart than others. 4. Actors fainted from the heat. The shiny costumes in Logan's Run looked futuristic on screen, shimmering dresses, flowing tunics, and colours like artificial rainbows. In reality, the actors felt like they were trapped in portable ovens. Most of the costumes were made from plastic vinyl and synthetic fabrics that didn't breathe at all. Filming inside the Dallas Market Center, where the air conditioning barely worked and the stage lights blazed like the Texas sun sent the temperature soaring, making extras feel like they were cosplaying roast chicken. Forced to stand for hours wrapped head to toe in nylon shells, many background actors began fainting from heat exhaustion, dehydration, and fatigue. The crew had to rotate them in and out of shots and hide fans behind the camera to keep people from renewing earlier than scripted. In some scenes, if you look closely, you'll notice extras flushed like boiled shrimp or drenched in sweat. 3. The original novel was much darker. The Logan's Run novel, written by William F. Nolan and George Clayton Johnson in 1967, depicted a far grimmer dystopia where human lifespans were capped at 21 and death was enforced through the ritual carousel. Its bleakest twist, the world outside the Dome City, the fabled sanctuary, never actually existed. Instead, it was a myth crafted to manipulate citizens into submission, crushing their hope when they realized escape was impossible. The novel's ending was scathing satire, emphasizing humanity's helplessness under a totalitarian regime where every dream was smothered by lies. By contrast, the 1976 film adaptation directed by Michael Anderson took a more hopeful approach. Logan 5 and Jessica not only escape the Dome, but also discover a real world outside a land of freedom. This change, aimed at mainstream audiences, angered fans of the original book who argued the film watered down the novel's dystopian bite, turning a harsh critique of authoritarianism into a Hollywood-style adventure with a happy ending. 2. A tragic accident killed an entire family at Water Gardens. The Water Gardens provided a breathtaking backdrop for the film's dramatic escape sequence. But nearly 3 decades later, the site became associated with real-life tragedy. In the summer of 2004, 4 members of a family from Chicago drowned in the active pool at the Water Gardens. A clogged drainage system caused water levels to rise to nearly 9 feet. Combined with the pump's suction and strong currents, it pulled them under in seconds. The deaths shocked the public, turning a once-celebrated film location into a somber symbol of how fragile public safety can be. The city of Fort Worth was forced to close the Water Gardens for major renovations. Nearly $3 million was spent reducing the pool's depth to just 2 feet, overhauling the pump and drainage systems and adding new safety measures. 1. A profound influence on modern sci-fi films. When it premiered in 1976, Logan's Run left a lasting legacy in pop culture. Its core ideas inspired later works such as Gattaca 1997, where genetics dictated destiny, and The Island 2005, where humans were raised for sinister purposes. Critics and filmmakers alike acknowledged that Logan's Run paved the way for socially conscious sci-fi storytelling that went beyond outer space adventure. One of the film's most iconic moments was the line "Run, Runner," a primal call for survival amid the system's pursuit. Short but powerful, it embedded itself in audience memory, evolving into a sci-fi fan slogan repeated in forums, memes, and later works as a symbol of rebellion against oppressive systems. Beyond dialogue, the life clock crystal embedded in citizens' palms became a haunting visual icon. Its influence spilled into real life, inspiring rave accessories and retro-futuristic pop design. In gaming, BioShock creator Ken Levine cited Logan's Run as his first dystopian experience, its influence visible in the haunting, alluring worlds he later built. And so we've uncovered 20 strange and fascinating truths about Logan's Run. The film was both dazzling on-screen and chaotic behind the scenes. From the terrifying carousel sequence, the forced romance subplot to Peter Ustinov's improvisations, it all proves that this film was not just science fiction, but a daring, messy, and inventive experiment of 1970s Hollywood. Which fact surprised you most? Do you think the Logan-Jessica romance really worked? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell to catch more shocking Hollywood stories. Thanks for watching,